Peter Parker is the definitive Spider-Man. And it doesn't really matter how you feel about it. It is what it is. Hey, what's up, Nerd fam? This is your boy Gershon. I want to welcome you to Enter the Nerd. Today, we're talking about my favorite character in Spider-Man. So, I've been hearing a couple of things, and this is really after the new Spider-Man game came out, and especially after their studios were talking about going forward, Miles Morales is going to be the main Spider-Man. Now, as you know, Spider-Man is, like I just said, my favorite hero, specifically Peter Parker, the definitive Spider-Man, the one that's been Spider-Man for well over 40 years, right? Who, when you think about the name Spider-Man, you immediately think Peter Parker. Now, a lot of people, for some reason, don't like that, even though that's just the facts. Any titular hero has that kind of association. You think Batman, you think Bruce Wayne. You think about Superman, you think Clark Kent. If you think about Black Panther, you think about T'Challa. Every main character of their series or of whatever popular one that has a particular mantle, as people like to be able to say, has a person who comes to mind. When you think about Captain America, you think about Steve Rogers. Okay? Now, a lot of people were saying, hey, this weird criticism about Miles Morales and him not being Spider-Man is only happening because he's black. I actually heard a similar thing happen when Falcon became Captain America. They were saying, oh, this is only happening. These people don't like the changes because of his skin color, and they never complained about any other change when it happened in the comics. So there are a couple of things I'd like to be able to say to that. The reason why a lot of people have that particular point of view is, just to be upfront, they don't read the comics. They were not reading the comics in the 90s, 80s, or even early 2000s, where certain very large and fast changes happened with certain characters where people really did not like. What they're doing is they are literally reading internet articles of people who also didn't read the comics and just believing what they're saying verbatim about this. But I'm just going to go over a couple of examples where that's not the case. So I'll start with Spider-Man, Ben Reilly. During the Clone Saga, they killed Peter Parker and replaced him quickly with Ben Reilly. Fans hated it. Ben Reilly's white, right? Didn't matter. He's not Peter Parker. Give me my Peter Parker back. That was a big deal. And they had to reverse it, and they had to do a whole bunch of really convoluted stuff in the Clone Saga, and that's why it's looked at kind of weirdly because of what they did. They just tried to just give us somebody else. And you know what? Even when Ben Reilly, he's still here, but he has his own place now as a Scarlet Spider. And guess what? Fans are okay with another, but when you try to replace characters, that's when things get rather strange. And we'll get onto the replacement thing when we talk about Miles in a little bit. But just staying on this notion that people or fans only get upset because a character is getting replaced with a black one, right? And I'll even talk about other IPs where things just were not the same and they just didn't like it, right? Because nerds being one, we could be rather rigid when it comes to certain things. But staying with the comic thing, Azrael. Azrael's a really big one. I'm forgetting it. I'm about to say Jean Paul Baptiste. I don't think that's what his name is. But blonde hair, blue eyes. Replace him. He's not Bruce Wayne. He was super violent. People were like, what the hell is this? I don't like this weird ass costume he has on. People didn't dig it. They hated Jason Todd so much in Batman, they wanted to kill him. They literally wrote letters to kill him. They did not like him. I believe when Wally West first came about, people did not like him either. As well as Impulse, when they brought in Bart Allen. They really didn't like him either. Everyone was all about Barry. They were all about Barry Allen. And if you think about it, that's why most of these series always make sure that Barry Allen is the centerpiece, because he's the one that most people know. We know about Jay Garrick, but a lot of people are like, we don't care about Jay Garrick. A lot of people, especially my age, I'm 32. So my age, like we're Barry, Wally, and Bart. We know about Jay Garrick, but that's not our Flash. It just isn't, right? Funny enough, I remember when Justice League Unlimited and all that was like really popular, and a lot of people didn't know that Hal Jordan was like obviously we have Guy Gardner, but was like the Green Lantern because they always had Jon Stewart on there. I remember people seeing Ryan Reynolds' appearance and going, "What the hell? They're making Green Lantern white." And I just remember that randomly. And it was people from all races who were like upset, like, why would they do something like that? And it's like, no. Comic, had to educate them real quick, like, no. And mind you, Jon Stewart's been around for a very long time as well, but it's not replacing that. It's different people that have like, the position of Green Lantern in that quadrant or sector. Whatever. But there's, like I said, quite a few times. Steve Rogers, when he died, they replaced him with Bucky. Fans hated that. They hated that. Once again, we're talking about people writing, going, we gotta kill him. And I remember in Fear Itself, they pretty much almost beat his ass to death so Steve Rogers could come back into that mantle. It's not just that. Listen, nerds get mad when Megatron stopped transforming into a gun. We are rigid like that. I remember even when in Voltron, when it was like Voltron Next Generation or something like that, and the lions were like mostly black, right? And the design was different. People were like, what the hell? These don't look like the lions that I'm used to. Like, this is how, unfortunately, for better or for worse, we are. Like, we have a visual. You gave it to us for 20 some odd years. Once you change it, we're like, what the hell is going on here? Now, sometimes it can be good changes, and we just got to get used to it. But sometimes when it comes to just like characters, we're not really about that. Now, how does this relate to Miles? Miles in the Ultimate Universe, quite literally, Peter died, and then Miles became that universe's Spider-Man. So it wasn't like they were both together being Spider-Man and you got used to it. One had to die in order for them to make, to get prominence. Now, here's the thing. He is also a character who benefits so much from Peter's legacy because all of his villains are still Peter's villains. He goes beat for things that are just like Peter. And if you don't read the comics, you won't see that. You'll just think, he's absolutely different. When I ask, is you the surface level things? Look at the swag he's got. I'm like, the swag? What? We're talking about storyline. Oh, look at the Jordans. I'm like, stop. He's black and Puerto Rican. I'm like, okay. Notice how you keep on naming these like things, like, but what about the plot lines? Like, he literally has his own Clone Saga now. Like, he literally, like, he has a Venom. Like, he has all the classic Peter Parker Spider-Man villains. So, he's not his own thing. Now, am I against there being another Spider-Man that has their own villains? Like, they have the same powers, because we saw what happened with Ezekiel and Spider-Verse. Like, there could be a really creative way to do this. But Miles is not very creative when it comes to this. And the guy who created him really said, I created him because I think we need a black Spider-Man. So that is the core of the character. It's not really to be creative. It's just to be a black Spider-Man. That's what he was created for. So does that mean that people hate him because he's a black Spider-Man? No. It's just that they know their Spider-Man, the definitive Spider-Man, to be Peter. And guess what? Marvel knows it too. Because that's why they keep on saying, when it's Peter Parker, they don't go Peter Parker Spider-Man on the comics. You can look at it, but when it's Miles Morales, they have to let you know this is Miles Morales Spider-Man. And people get mad at that. Like, I don't understand. Like, they're both Spider-Man. Like, why don't we just... Because you understand the brand has been associated with a particular Spider-Man. The same way how it would be for any other hero. Any other hero that has had a certain identity for a very long time. And listen, one of my favorite variants of Spider-Man is Miguel O'Hara, Spider-Man 2099. I'm gonna do a whole video about him. I actually really like his character. Is he 100% original? No, he's still called Spider-Man, right? But literally, you have to know Spider-Man 2099 and his brand. Like, they don't just call him Spider-Man. Like, you have to know exactly who he is, right? Now, his personality is a bit different. Does he still have like some Spider-Man villains? He does. But they did some pretty good changes to let you know that he is not Peter. But regardless of what I feel about Miguel O'Hara, the Definitive Spider-Man is still Peter. It is what it is. Another IP to pay attention to when they just made like weird changes. Remember when for James Bond, as soon as Daniel Craig became James Bond, mind you, Quantum of Solace and Skyfall are considered excellent films. But in the beginning, they were like, he's blonde. We can't have that. The hair color, that was a problem because what have all the Bonds been in the novels? Like, what has he been described as? Being dark-haired. So people had an issue with that. Does that mean that people are prejudiced against people who are blonde, or that they are looking at people who, it has to look this way, these changes? Anybody who's going to have James Bond has to look like what classically James Bond looks like. So, those are the kind of couple things I wanted to discuss in this video. That no, people don't just not like Miles because he's black, or they don't consider him the main Spider-Man because he's black. It's because definitively he's not. All the greatest adventures for Spider-Man that everybody knows comes from Peter Parker. All the recognizability, the reason why you know who Spider-Man is because of Peter Parker. Not because of Miles. And right now, Miles benefits from everything that Peter Parker does, because now he's going to repeat there. It is what it is. Let me know what you think. Who's in the Definitive Spider-Man for you? If you like Miles Morales, which is fine, why? Why do you like him better? That's storyline-wise. Let's have that conversation. And yeah, if anything else, and also give me some other examples of changes that happened in characters that people like myself, like just nerds, didn't like. I would love to be able to hear some of those as well. Thank you for subscribing. If you're one of the 1,000 people who have been here maybe since the beginning, I haven't been as consistent, and I apologize for that. But I need to, if anything, that this has shown me is that I need to be more consistent. And if you like the type of things that I'm saying, let me know. If there's certain videos that you want me to do, I'll do any content that you want to see. We can try doing that. But until then, Enter the Nerd.